Now, Russian authorities say air defense systems shot down several Ukrainian drones that targeted Moscow overnight. Russia's defense ministry said it destroyed a total of 45 drones over Russian territory, including 11 over the capital region. Moscow's mayor said the city faced one of the biggest drone attacks Ukraine has launched against the capital so far. And DW correspondent Sonia Falnica has more now from Kyiv. Hi, Sonia. Now, has Ukraine reacted to these alleged drone attacks? Have they said anything yet?
Well, the Ukrainian military has not commented as yet on those alleged drone attacks over Moscow and over those other regions which are closer to its border with Russia. Now, these kinds of drone attacks over Moscow are quite rare, but we did see a similar attack in May this year when Russian officials said they had destroyed a drone outside the capital, which also led to some temporary restrictions on two major airports in the capital there. And now, Ukraine usually does not officially claim responsibility for any kind of reported attacks on Russian soil, but it does regularly carry out drone strikes on Russia's oil refineries, on its airfields and gas installations. These are often on targets which are located several hundred kilometers from its border. And Ukraine says its aim there is to retaliate for what it says are repeated attacks by Russia on its own energy infrastructure. And it says the aim there is often to kind of destroy Russia's logistics, its supply routes, and kind of dismantle Russia's strike capabilities. And in recent days, we've really seen an escalating amount of attacks by Russia and Ukraine on each other's oil and industrial facilities.
That's right. I mean, Ukraine is advancing in Kursk, but it's Russia that does seem to have the momentum in the east, doesn't it? So can you tell us more about that?
That's right. I mean, reports suggest that Ukrainian troops are kind of inching forward in that Kursk region in Russia. Ukraine's army chief, Alexander Syrsky, says his troops have now moved forward about 20 to 35 kilometers deep into that territory. He says they now control more than 90 settlements. But they're also facing increased resistance. There are reports that Russia is now moving some of its troops from other directions to kind of strengthen its positions there. But within Ukraine, in the eastern Donetsk region, Russian forces are certainly advancing steadily. They claim to have now captured the town of New York. This is a small settlement which has been fought over since 2014. The Ukrainian military has not admitted to the loss of that town, but they say Russian forces are attacking in the area. They say Russia is also deploying additional troops to the front line in the east. And one of the targets for the Russian forces there is the town of Pokrovsk, which is a crucial logistics hub for the Ukrainian military, and which is located on the intersection of a main highway that supplies Ukrainian troops and frontline towns, but is also used to move casualties towards the city of Dnipro.
Sonia, thanks so much for that update. That's DW's Sonia Falnica reporting from Kyiv.
We're now to the war between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says Ukrainian forces are continuing to attack in Russia's Kursk region, even as Moscow presses forward on the front lines in the Donbass. Now, this footage released by Ukrainian special forces shows strikes on Russian pontoon crossings in the Kursk area. Ukraine has already destroyed at least 3 bridges over the river Seym as it seeks to create a buffer zone in the border region. Moscow claims its troops have stopped Ukraine's advance. Well, Ukraine's incursion has added a further incentive for Russia to recruit soldiers for the front line. One of the motivations for soldiers to sign up seems to be money, with cash offered to volunteers. But it appears new recruits are being sent to Kursk, which is causing some dissent amongst their families.
These men are ready to join the ranks of the Russian army after Ukraine's incursion, at least according to Russian state TV.
Firstly, to help my country, my people, beat the fascists and get back the territory they seized.
A typical propaganda narrative on state TV. Russia says it's fighting what it claims are Ukrainian Nazis on its own soil. The news report claims money isn't what's driving people to sign a contract with the defense ministry, even though it does mention a one-time payment of 2 million rubles, almost 20,000 euros. Average Russians would have to work at least 2 years to earn that kind of money. In poorer regions, even longer.
So there is a part of the population coming from the poorest regions who are the beneficiaries of the war. We cannot ignore that. Money is important for these people. The large amounts of money which are proposed, which are promoted today by the Russian officials in exchange of the human life, is something which is considered in both sides of the deal as a kind of acceptable deal.
Ukraine says it has captured hundreds of Russian soldiers since the start of its incursion. 80% of them are believed to be conscripts. After Ukraine's first advances on Russian territory, mothers of drafted soldiers called on President Putin to remove them out of the Kursk region. Now this Chechen Special Forces commander has harsh words for those parents.
If your 18-year-old children are already serving and you think they shouldn't defend their homeland when it's being attacked by the enemy, I have one question for you. What use are you and your children to this country?
Russia says around 6,000 soldiers have been killed in Ukraine. Experts believe the number to be much higher, with some estimates putting them at around 300,000. The Russian Defense Ministry is now running ads like these, reading "Real men belong here" to recruit more soldiers.
The major strategy of the Russian government for today is avoiding the mass mobilization, mass military mobilization in the whole Russian population and trying to categorize, to target more vulnerable, poorest, and not that productive categories of the population in order to fill in the gaps in the army ranks.
But at least according to Russian state TV, there are still enough volunteers left.